bit of a handicap given the fact that he's one of the stronger junglers in the meta, one of the more prevalent ones. You can argue about its strength or not. I'm sure a lot of analysts would be happy to do that at length. But it's going to be more jungles targeted on the red side for IG. But one of them is the Trundle that is still left available. Monki, again, one of the original players of this earlier this season, and he's confident enough on it to blind pick it in certain situations. We'll see if it's a B1 angle here for the Trundle jungle, and it looks like it will be.
This was a B1 so often for WE during their win streak. And I think that really instilled a lot of confidence in WE moving forward with a lot of Trundle picks. Obviously, you hit the nail on the head. He really, brought Trundle jungle back into the meta in 2025 in terms of, even the LCK and the LEC, LTA, they were all playing it after Monki ended up picking it up. So not surprising to see him put that kind of priority, but the Rumble is still available on the other side of this. That's been, not really allowed on red side for a lot of different drafts. It's going to be big for TheShy to pick that up, and it might even be the number 180 carry as well.
Varus getting selected a lot of targeted bans here for IG. They went with the red side strategy of just leaving a lot of OPs on the table and forcing WE to pick one so they can get two. Very clearly worked, as Varus and Rumble are both on IG side, because WE really prioritized having Monki on this Trundle, one of his most comfortable champions throughout the entire season, throughout that big run, as you mentioned, that Team WE went on. Ornn's going to be locked in here for Cube. We saw, like other picks like the Scion not work out well in our last series, so hopefully a little bit of a better performance here for Cube this time around. We'll see what the rest of the composition looks like for Team WE, as they've already set up some pretty beefy frontline members in their draft.
Yeah, a couple of interesting hovers here. Not worth talking about just yet, obviously, but, there are a lot of things that I think you could round out this comp with. We did see Rumble into tank earlier today with Ninjas in Pajamas versus LGD. Did not work out for the tank. The Rumble got very strong in that game and ended up making a big impact. We'll see if Cube can have a bit more of a safe time on the Ornn. Of course, Ornn offers the ornaments later on in the game as well if you do just want to play around. Trundle, it will be the Jhin. Very safe AD carry as an answer to the Varus. Really like the individual matchup that Jhin has in particular. As for the composition as a whole, you're lacking in damage quite a bit right now. You don't really want Jhin to be your primary option, so we'll see how they round things out, but it will be the Alistar as that consistent form of engage for Meiko.
Gonna have to trust Karis into having champions in his pool after they get continuously pinched that can dish out that consistent DPS. The Azir already off the table. That Orianna cannot be selected again, obviously, with us being in that true fearless format. So curious to see what direction Karis does go. On the other side for IG, mid-jungle, still left to be selected. We see that Rise take away from Rookie.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The thing that really stands out to me that's still up on the board is Ahri. We'll see if they want to take that away. That's something that Karis has played quite a lot over the course of his career, so would make a lot of sense within the comp, would be that damage that you're looking for, and can still make plays alongside the Trundle, and can allow the Jhin to be a little bit more weak side. We'll see if they want to go for that. There are plenty of options still on the board. It will be the Nautilus actually taken away, wanting to take away that support option from WE, who have yet to finish out their bot lane alongside the Jhin. Jhin Nautilus, a very famous lane, so just curious to see where the bans end up coming in. It's curious to me that WE themselves banned out the Rise. I would have considered that probably the likely pick, but still a lot up on the board. Victor is also a potential option. We're starting to get down the rung on the mid lane tier list, but a lot there still.
Do they ban another one of these mid laners and try to pigeonhole Rookie into a specific selection? Yeah, there's the Victor. So I'd imagine, well, actually, maybe you just pick jungle here to try to match the Trundle and you leave R5 here for Rookie. It does mean that Karis might have some different options that won't get immediately countered by that Victor. We'll see what IG want to select here. As again, on the side of WE, more damage is necessary. That Aurora did pretty well earlier on in the day for Doinby, although it did not result in a win.
Yeah, Rookie has not found a ton of success on Aurora across this year. It's been a champion that at times has looked good in the LPL in general. Not as much for Rookie. He was one of the people who picked it up the latest, and so, we'll see how that ends up working out. He ended up pretty good on it towards the end of the split. He felt a lot more comfortable as he played more games on it, but certainly going to be, more of a question mark, more of a test to see how he ends up performing on that champion. We will see, though, if the engage support is going to be Rel, which it is, kind of the main one left up on the board. Leona, of course, the other main option here, but Rel as, a pick into, things like Varus makes sense, even if it's not great into Alistar. And it's going to be the Akali that actually comes out for Karis. So him really throwing down the gauntlet saying, okay, we needed damage out of the mid lane. We have Ornn, we've got Trundle, we've got Rel, we've got setup. you know, I wasn't able to carry in game 1. Let's try it again in game 2.
It's a very conditional amount of damage, though. It's not your traditional artillery mage or anything like that. Karis are going to have to really have high-level gameplay in terms of attacking this backline, who is relatively immobile, specifically this Varus. Obviously, Rookie can jump around a little bit, but if Karis is able to, get a couple of nice kills here, get himself a lead, it is a little bit of Snowball City here for Team WE. If you can eventually get to those Ornn items onto the Jhin, get those crits stacking up, he can eventually turn into your late-game threat, but a lot of pressure on the WE mid-jungle duo in this decisive game 2 that could result in them getting swept if things don't go their way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, honestly, the early game matters a lot here. Again, not because these comps are indexing super heavily into it, but rather because whoever controls the tempo of this game is likely going to be in a really good spot. I really like this draft for WE. I think there are a lot of ways to execute on it. I think you scale pretty well. You have a ton of engage. I mean, Ornn ult plus Rel plus Trundle. There are plenty of ways to start off fights here. If this Akali can get into a decent spot to be a primary carry, if you can get a little bit of gold on her in the early game, I think you're going to be pretty good here for WE. That being said, it's not like IG don't have engage. It's not like they don't have damage. They have plenty of ways to play out this game. Once again, it comes down to execution, and that's what makes these so fun.
Again, a matchup between top 4 teams. If theoretically Split 2 was the split that decided Worlds, hey, these 2 teams would have been the next teams up after AL and BLG. So a lot of pressure here for them to try to maintain that level of success. Obviously, there were some underperformances from teams like JDG, from Top Esports. They're going to be hungry to try to match this level of play to get into that top 4. But these guys are the ones that right now have that kind of upper hand, at least in terms of that momentum that is riding. And they want to make sure they continue that into the rest of the year as we load onto the lift for game number 2 in Xi'an. Do I dare say, kind of close?
Very close. Yeah, shockingly close. Both of these teams getting a lot of support from their fans here today. And I'm very excited to see how it plays out. Again, no deep vision. Unlike game number 1, no real major invade coming out from either side. Just going to be pretty standard setups here. Will be Monki taking a bit of damage from the Electrocute proc, but pretty standard starts. It looks like Xin Zhao will just be making sure that his invade is protected with that ward. Vampire playing pretty aggressive here.
Yeah, does not land the crash down, but gets knocked up by the pulverize of Meiko. Pressuring a little bit here onto Gala and the like. And actually, as I say that, Monki, he's actually roaming up for a late invade onto the enemy blue buff, and just knowing how strong Trundle is level 1, Wei just immediately backs on out of there.
And it's actually really smart from Wei. The direction that he makes his way out of there actually doesn't show on vision. So he's just going to go and take Raptors and red buff on this side as well. He's going to hit his level 2. And honestly, he's going to be in a pretty good spot regardless of the invade here. The pings are going to come down onto the Raptors, but they're going to be gone by the time Monki gets here.
And Wei should be able to hit level 2 off of these small ones as they finally get taken down, and should try his best to get on out of there. Now, Rookie has pushed the wave in this range versus melee matchup. And that means that Monki cannot contest in 1v2. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Meiko taken down to below 100.
Yeah, that was dangerously close. I'd have to see how that started. I imagine it was a good vampire engage, but shocking to see the Alistar in so much trouble early on in this game, especially with the vampire still at level 1. But is a nice exchange overall there for WE, getting that Alistar out of lane and forcing it. We're going to get to see the replay here. Just ends up walking up a little too far. Does get clipped just by the end of the crash down. And the stun comes down, the ignite comes down. Forces the flash out. Oh, the bouncing grenade just barely not enough, but very, very close from the bot lane of WE.
I have to imagine a Biscuit was involved in that survival here for Meiko. Make sure you, all you support players, or just all you players at home, make sure you pop your biscuits whenever you're in a big fight like that. Could keep you alive. So Meiko's going to be alive and all right. After what was a very chaotic start to the game that resulted in no blood being shed, actually. it ends up just being relatively even, and it's up in the top side. Cube and TheShy going at it a little bit as well. The scrap shield from TheShy keeping him alive. He's going to use the flame spitter and a biscuit of his own to regen back to a very considerable amount of HP, but nicely done by Cube to keep things competitive here.
Yeah, no, honestly, really well done by Cube. And I will say, I think this matchup is better for Ornn than it was for Sion earlier on today. I do think that there are a lot more ways to play it out for the Ornn to just kind of shut down the Rumble's aggressiveness. You're going to go down in CS and gold, but probably not as much kill threat on the top side, and so we'll see how that ends up playing out. Meiko, though, still level 2 because of the obvious delayed back here. Vampire hitting level 3. We'll see if WE maybe want to take advantage of it, but right now the wave control is in favor of Invictus Gaming. Which is definitely not what you would have expected after the exchange.
This is a good opportunity for them now, though. The Deadly Flourish combined with
Ooh, nice knockup.
A little bit of damage as well. Yes, nicely done from Meiko, landing that Pulverize to make sure the crash down does not connect. That's a little nice interaction that you can have with the Rel against the Alistar. But the pressure that they have generated allows for Monki to claim that bottom side scuttle, securing that double crab for himself. He still has some camps on the top side to take as well.
Yeah, you're seeing why Alistar is considered the counter pick to Rel, quote unquote, you know, in terms of how things go. Obviously, once you get to the late game team fights, it's not as relevant, but Alistar very good in lane against Rel because of that ability to buffer the crash down. We're going to see that more throughout a lot of this game, but really, I'm going to be looking at the mid lane. Karis is so important towards what Team WE want to do moving forward, and if he's not able to generate a pretty big lead here into the Aurora, a matchup that I do think is Akali favored, then things could get pretty dicey pretty quickly with a lack of damage coming in on the side of WE. That's why we see so much pressure, I think, put in the mid lane by both Vampire and Wei here.
They're still hunting, still feeling each other out a little bit as the Dragon does spawn. Infernal to start things off here is not a ton of ability to kill by either party, but specifically here for Vampire, so he jumps on out of there. Maybe making a return to try to clear that control ward out.
And the trade coming in from Rookie just... We've seen some Aurora trades throughout our time in the LPL that have just been pretty incredible. Vampire's still sticking around. Meiko's in the area as well, and it's going to be a kind of a win for Invictus Gaming, buying a lot of time from this Rel with Monki making his way up.
Oh, we gotta find the pillar on to Meiko. Ignites on top of him as well. Between worlds, though, comes out from Rookie. He's doing a lot of damage.
Oh.
And Meiko still going to survive. It's first blood picked up for IG. They're gonna get a second as Rookie goes crazy in the mid lane, hitting 6 at just the perfect moment. And now Monki is gonna be targeted, but he's gonna run to his jungle to safety. IG with a huge play in the mid lane.
Unreal timing there on the level 6 for Rookie. Just perfectly executed from him to be able to get that damage down. It kind of looked a little bit suspect at the beginning, but IG end up pushing through. They end up taking advantage of the over-eager, kind of greedy play from WE. You know, they were trying to sit there. They're like, Vampire's been here for so long, still level 3. We need to find something.
Oh, Shuriken
Karis
doesn't connect. Still could be enough
no.
damage, but Meiko teleports just in time. Piercing arrow comes out. Gala matches the flash, and IG are just better on the day.
Oh, it is disaster for WE. It looked like it was going to be a good play for the Akali, but it turns into the worst of plays overall. Gala ends up with the kill. All summoners burned by Karis. He doesn't land the Shuriken. That is the difference maker in that fight. Rookie ends up with the kill. Gala ends up with a kill, and Invictus Gaming end up with a pretty big lead here. But we're going to see this again. Vampire has invested so much time into this area. The Trundle Pillar comes down, and so they wanted full engage on this, but Rookie has just immediately bursted down Karis. He's so low before this fight even starts. Meiko is just able to walk out a great headbutt to be able to get Monki out of the area to not allow him to pick up the return kill onto the Alistar, but once again, we're going to see kind of the exchange. On the bottom side here, Karis just barely misses his Shuriken. If he lands that, it's a kill. It just is for WE. Unfortunately, he's not able to land it. It goes on the minion instead. Even with the flash, Gala ends up matching and ends up picking up the kill. What a close play all around, but Invictus winning everywhere.
The slimmest of margins end up working out in favor of IG as they've turned that slim margin into a wide one. 1,500 gold. First Dragon of the game, already the Feats of Warfare picked up, and they are well on their way to a 2-0 sweep.
Yeah, it is the dream start for IG, and remember, they didn't even get this in game 1. They were down 3k gold going into the mid game, and so for them to have so much tempo surrounding this area with so much engage on their side with, you know, Rel and Ornn and Trundle and, you know, like on the other side, like hoping and praying to try and, you know, stop that engage. It's really easy to imagine a world where Alistair and, you know, this Xin Zhao just end up taking over in the mid game. So we'll have to see how WE want to answer, but it's the grubs that are started for IG. If they get this, they're in a great spot.
Yeah, without Karis being ahead at this point, it's going to be very hard for W to find a fight already. Monki headbutted back into the rest of the team, but he has to flash away from the pillar. Here comes the call of the Forge God. Cube going to look to knock up a couple of people, but there's not a lot of follow-up left for WE. Equalizer comes down. Vampire going to try to collapse onto the shot, but he flashes right out. And now Karis is stuck in the middle of IG, and so is Monki as Rookie picks up the 4th kill of the game. Already a grub picked up for Invictus Gaming, and WE have no chance to contest the rest of them.
It's a very tense fight. Honestly, it looks very close for a second with TheShy overextending quite a bit on the Rumble, but he ends up buying just enough time where Karis ends up getting a little bit too distracted in terms of his priorities. He dives in and ends up getting bursted down. Once that Akali is out, it's not able to be salvaged from IG there. Taeyoon trying to put out damage on the Jhin, but it's just not enough. There's not enough damage going around, and we went from a state that was like, yeah, Invictus is in a good spot, to a 2.5k gold lead. We're going to get to see the start of this fight again. You know, Meiko zoning out. Does have to flash pretty early on because he's still level 4 in this exchange. Call of the Forge God does land on 3, but it's a bit disconnected from the overall play. TheShy not really with the rest of his team. Equalizer hits basically no one, but look at where Karis is. He's just by himself amongst the entire enemy team, almost dashes directly into the Equalizer. At that point, Monki is by himself as well, and the grubs are not attainable. He ends up falling, and you know, like I said, 2.5k gold lead for Invictus. They have a comp that scales really well with a lot of engage. Rookie 2-0-1, great spot to be in for them.
And that Equalizer from TheShy, I mean, it didn't do a ton of damage, but it formed a literal firewall between the pit and the rest of the team. 3 members of WE could not go in to help out anybody, and maybe there was angles to pick up kills here or there around that grub fight, but really nicely done by TheShy, who's again having a really good game, picking up a big advantage over Cube despite actually not contributing in terms of assists on any of those kills.
Yeah, I mean, the Rumble is continuing to look pretty good in the hands of good players, which TheShy, of course, definitely is. We've seen many big moments from him on multiple different types of champions, but once again, it's Rookie who's really taking a lot of the focus, and unfortunately, right now, it might be Karis who's taking Rookie's focus. Oh my god!
Oh, look away! Oh, that was disgusting! Rookie! Oh my god, you didn't have to do him like that, man.
Oh, it's just a disaster for Karis, who is right now getting a little bit outplayed from a hands perspective, but counterplay made on the top side on TheShy.
Yeah, no flash available, so this should be WE finally getting onto the board. If they can give the kill to Monki, likely would be ideal. They do with the chomp, but now the trade is for Vampire, who never had a chance of trying to defend that tower in a 1v3. He does get a kill back, guys, so maybe I'm eating my words a little bit. So WE getting a little bit of gold back in certain areas, but not enough to stop the might of IG.
Yeah, I mean, Vampire at level 5, not really a big chance to survive that down on the bottom side, but you see Karis coming to catch the bot wave. Teleport on the top side coming in. Overall, lanes are equalizing out at least a little bit here, but Rookie is so accelerated. 1.5k gold up on the Akali. Leandri's completed. We're going to see a replay here. Karis is just by himself under the tower. I gotta see how this happens. Rookie landing all of the damage, even within the Shroud. You can see Karis playing very respectfully, but just walks up a little too much. Even with Rookie tanking tower shots, it just doesn't matter. Too much damage.
Straight up aura farm, like to quote the younglings there, like oh my, like Rookie just hit every single spell onto Karis, and Karis hit nothing back. Like, what else can you say? Like that's just the better mid laner wins, at least here today, as it's a big mid diff at least at this point. Rookie's 3-0-2 has that full item already in his inventory. 30 seconds on this next Drake, and IG looking like they're in a great position to close out a 2-0, make it 5 straight against Team WE.
Yeah, and we're going to see Vampire potentially caught again here.
Yeah, no hope. I mean, I thought maybe some stuns could buy some time. He has the ultimate available. He's waiting for Monki to arrive. Still going to be living, but no. Gala will take him down. And now it's another 4v5 situation opened up for Invictus Gaming. Things are falling apart quick for Team WE.
Yeah, Drake is spawning. This is a really bad setup. Karis once again being forced off of his tower down on the bot side, but he's not going to be fast enough. He's going to get the Equalizer dropped on him.
Just let it go, man. Not worth saving this tower at this point. It's going to cost a lot of lives. Finally, Monki does arrive, and Meiko has to flash on out with the Unbreakable Will, having had that tower aggro tanked on him, but finally the tier 1 will drop. And IG have 4 members here around the area. They force Monki to come right back and try to take people down. The Subjugate combined with the Deadly Flourish is going to try to slow down Wei just a little bit, but he pops the Crescent Guard to make sure no further artillery can be rained down upon him. Gala has both of the Summoner Spells. He is in a lot of safety. And he will be able to now maybe try to turn this around.
Oh, double teleport coming in.
Teleport coming in. It's going to be TheShy looking to join the fight. Has that Equalizer on cooldown, but he has the Flame Spitter all the same. And there's Rookie coming in to finish the job as well. Team WE go for the chase, but they overchase way too far. And Vampire now has to run away here from the might of Wei and Gala, but they can turn their sights to the Dragon instead.
It's just a desperation play, and it's not even over. Gala out of position here.
Cube running his way down from the top lane, going to be able to actually lock down Gala, but he flashes away. Wei is here to try to save him, and nobody from Team W has the range to get onto the Varus after that initial attempt. Somehow Gala is able to survive, and bad goes to worse for WE.
Even the worst of oversteps from Invictus cannot be punished. The position that they are in right now is unbelievable. Meiko now just standing guard. Vampire looking for anything, but we're not stopping.
Yeah, in goes Wei once again. The wind becomes lightning, comes out, and Vampire's once again just deleted. Karis jumps in with that perfect execution. Finally, Monki gets one back. They land the shuriken onto TheShy. Karis flies forward. Should be able to get one back. It's a double kill for Monki, and the numbers advantage is now in their favor. But Rookie is still doing so much damage, trying to finish off these kills on a Monki and Karis, and Gala's arrived to the fight, waiting for the curtain call to try to lock down Meiko, but he won't be able to do so. Karis flashes away from the chain of corruption, and IG not going to fall.
Oh man, Grapes, I hope you can get a break for 1 second here. It's fight after fight after fight. It's insanity on the Rift here for both of these teams. It might not even be over yet. Vampire has respawned, which means that Vampire is looking for an engage. But jokes aside, I mean, chaos over and over again. We're going to get a replay. I don't even know where we're going to start here. It's going to be the second half of this play. Vampire looking for Meiko, but he was just standing guard for the rest of the team. Wei does dive a little bit too deep and ends up getting himself caught out. He ends up trading 1 for 1 on the exchange, with Cube being able to get himself out with the flash. And at this point, TheShy is very low. This actually looks okay for WE, all things considered. Unfortunately, from this point onwards, they've just kind of used all of their damage, and so chasing down Rookie is a very dangerous proposition, who still has so much to burn on the Aurora. Just barely misses the Q. Would have picked up the kill there on the Akali. Karis ends up flashing the Varus ultimate, and you know, overall, it's an okay play for WE considering the game state, and they are able to get Dragon off of it, which certainly isn't the worst thing in the world, but doesn't change the outlook on the game entirely.
Yeah, look at the numbers right now. It's just 4,000 gold lead. Could be getting a little bit back here, as finally an overload on the bottom side will work out well for Team WE in their own favor. They take down Rookie. Meiko should go down, but he's going to take Cube down with him. The tower shot will seal his fate. It's a 2 for 1 overall, and IG are getting mid-tier 1 as well.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 1, but IG are getting top tier 1, mid tier 1, like, they're getting everything. Like, this is still fine for Invictus, but it's a nice proactive play for WE, all things considered. Monki's really strong. This is a 5-kill Trundle, and I'm not saying that, you know, they have a really easy avenue back into the game. They are still going. They might get mid tier 2 here as well. It's just Vampire alone to try and stop this. That is a trade for a lot on the bot side. Yes, you get 2 kills. Yes, you get bot tier 1, but giving up 3 towers in exchange for that is quite a bit, so we'll see what Monki can do with that gold. He is every bit of resource that WE have at this point, and that's with Rift Herald now going over to IG as well.
Yeah, you know, counters to Xin Zhao, like, able to duel him. Question is, what can he do in the 5v5? Can he run into the Rift Herald and maybe even steal it away? It's at 1,200 HP. It will be secured by Wei, but the fight could be big. Call the Forge God already has landed onto him, but the Equalizer once again providing a lot of zone control. But Karis in the backline looking for Gala. Lands the Shuriken, the perfect execution, not enough, but the final Q will seal the deal. Karis picks up the kill, now looking for Rookie, and WE have won the fight on the other side. Crash down lands on the way. Rookie will take down one, but the rest of his team has already fallen. It's a double kill in for Gala, and for Taeyoon, and now Rookie is in a 1v3. He pops him between worlds. He gets one. He's looking for Taeyoon as well, and WE have to flee.
Oh, it was almost unbelievable with Rookie pulling back a 1v4 at the end of that fight, but still ginormous for WE. It doesn't necessarily close the gold deficit because so much is still in favor of Rookie, but it puts it in the right spots. Taeyoon actually picking up quite a bit of gold in that fight. on the Jhin. We're just gonna get a replay to see how this all broke down. Monki goes in way too early. It looks like he's going to be disconnected for the rest of his team. Great job by Cube to play really aggro and stepping up and not fearing the equalizer, being willing to take a lot of the aggro. And Karis on the backline here, putting so much pressure onto Gala, finally showing the worthwhileness of that Akali pick coming out from the mid lane. All the while, WE is just winning the fight. Rookie and Gala are both preoccupied. There's no damage elsewhere, and so WE are able to pick up a really nice skirmish. Now, Rookie makes things quite close at the end here. So much damage coming out from the Aurora. Ends up picking up the kill on Vampire. If he lands this Q, he's probably got the kill on Taeyoon as well. But overall, gold still in favor of IG. Much more playable by WE now.
Hey, shout out to Karis. We talked about his underperformances in that last game. Even though he didn't have the best start to this one, was able to assassinate Gala. That was a big play. Soaked up so much of Rookie and Gala's time in that initial play. And now is starting to get a little bit towards that point where Gala's really going to have to worry for his life, especially with that barrier still on cooldown, at least for a little bit longer. Team WE finding some opportunities. The question is, will it be enough, especially to stop Rookie? Because, man, when that guy got unlocked, he was able to nearly 1v3 all on his own.
Yeah, I mean, this really is a tale of, I'm not going to say two carries, because Invictus has quite a few members of the team that can be big threats, but Aurora and Trundle are both going to be must-watch in these fights in terms of their positioning. If Rookie is isolated like he was in the previous fight, we saw what WE can do without the damage from the Aurora coming through, but at the same time, if she can get on those priority targets, especially if Monki ends up getting bursted down, again, that's where all the gold is at right now, even with Taeyoon getting a little bit more coming in from the Jhin. But it's Rift Herald dropped here in the bot lane. Rookie will be guiding it in. Looks like it will crash eventually. Oh, I guess not crash. It looks like it was driven. So will not crash into the bot lane, but we've got to fight instead.
Yeah, gives a little bit of a timer for W to go to a play. Gala flashes away for the crash down, but in goes Rookie out of the back line with the Between Worlds, not finding the passive onto Taeyoon just yet. He dodges away from the deadly flourish, and IG winning the fight on the backside of things. Karis not able to take down Gala. Finally, the fourth shot of Taeyoon will, but it will come at the cost of his life. Two more will drop here for Team WE as IG win the fight in the mid jungle.
Yeah, that's what happens when you can create space like that on Aurora. It makes it impossible for the damage dealers to feel comfortable stepping up, and on the back end of the fight, it's just doomed, and Monki will eventually pay for the sins of the rest of his team and fall as well. A bit of an awkward timer there, but it will be Otacon that is started up by Invictus Gaming now. We get to see what happened a bit earlier. Fortunately for Rookie, not earning his driver's license on the Herald,
yeah,
but
you gotta revoke
certainly,
that.
Yeah, gotta work on that. Gotta work on that in practice. But you know, more than enough actual effort in the fights themselves to really push things forward. It might not have been a Rookie carry in terms of the damage, but the separation was huge, and you can really see the value of things like Xin Zhao in that fight.
Regardless, Otacon gonna be the second dragon as well for IG. Not just the team fight win, but a whole lot more in terms of those objectives. It was relatively close, but Gala's able to flash away here, and then Karis not able to take him down in time. He buys so much time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Vampire is just so squishy, and Wei is able to do so much damage. Karis ends up dashing in here. He wants to kill Gala, but even if he does, there's really not a lot to be able to work off of that. It's a nice play overall, but especially with Taeyoon having to flash forward in order to secure the kill, there's not a lot of ways out of that fight, and you're basically just trading gold for gold. Hopefully, you can get that gold into the right spot. Part of it has gone on to Jhin, but at this point, very difficult to imagine a world where WE can easily fight from this point onwards.
Yeah, you take a look at our good friend, the JD Robot down there, and it's a 70% chance, or 69% chance, nice, that IG have the game in their hands, just due to the compositions based off Chinese solo queue data. We know that, sometimes it's not super accurate, but in my head right now, Kman, it very much represents the way that this game is currently structured.
Yeah, I certainly would say that that is an accurate representation. We've said it once, we'll say it 1,000 times. No lead is safe in the LPL. I think that has been proven over and over again, but IG are certainly in the driver's seat for the rest of this game. Got Soul Point in 4 minutes, and so no major objective on the map to play for. We see the vision coverage kind of being more centered towards the top side of the map. Baron is spawning in about 2.5. We'll see if they, that is Invictus, maybe want to try and prioritize that early on. We could be seeing a bit of a delayed and stalled game state, though, just with everything kind of off cooldown right now.
posturing, some clearing waves, and generally IG pushing, generating that control. We see a teleport in from Vampire to make sure that tier 2 in the bottom lane doesn't go down, but it now gives IG maybe a little bit more time to pressure mid, to pressure top lane. There's just an unrelenting push on any side of the map with the way that Invictus Gaming have their lead set up right now. And overall, a good sign, a good bounce back here for IG. You know, they lost their series to Top Esports just at the start of the season, to start their season off, but going here and looking pretty good against a Team WE team that, again, did really have a crazy run last split.
Yeah, I mean, Invictus is, you know, again, ending off where they were with WE. It just feels like this team has, you know, WE's number in terms of their setup. Again, not everything is done and dusted just yet, but we see Rookie working on completing that third item. He's got 10 stacks on his Dark Seal as well. Cube could be in some trouble here. No tower to protect him.
And there's 4 members running it down here. Not a Baron available just yet on the other side of the map, so Cube's death will likely be in vain. The top tier 1 could be a target here for Team WE, but that is a small price to pay here for another kill going over to Gala.
Yeah, certainly not too bad to trade top tier 1 at 24 minutes into the game for a kill on the bot side and pressure over bot lane tier 2. Certainly not the worst exchange in the world, but it might actually be a trade of tier 2s. WE continuing to push. We saw Invictus make some mistakes here before, but it's actually a transition into the mid lane for Invictus here. They want to try to get as much priority as possible. No objective to translate this to, but this could just be inhibitor tower falling.
Yeah, the chase down was so long, they weren't able to push that bot lane wave in time, so instead they turned towards the inhibitor tower, and as you say, Kman, with Karis and Monki, 2 of the stronger members of the team away, it's a tier 3 tower instantly getting taken down, and TheShy is doing enough to make sure that the inner does not fall on his side of the map. Gala gets a tier 2, a huge influx of gold going IG's way.
It's another just questionable decision from WE. They're investing so much into a resource that, you know, how important really is it? This top lane tier 2, they're sitting here death pushing TheShy at this point. They give up inhibitor tower, they give up bot tier 2, they give up all the pressure over the bottom side of the map. Dragon is spawning in 1 minute. It's sole point for Invictus Gaming. They're gonna want to prioritize it. Baron is up on the map as well, and all of this pressure now for free has gone to IG with basically nothing to stop them from running the rest of the map.
And you just look at Rookie every once in a while and just are in awe of just how insanely far ahead he is in this game. 8-1-5 over Karis right now. 3,500 gold. Picking up that third item in the Void Staff as he just went back to base. This guy's going to be continuously a menace in any of these 5v5s. So the amount of AoE damage that he can put out there. And the rest of IG, definitely no slouches in their own right.
Yeah, and it's even more difficult, right? You're playing into an Akali where it's like, okay, Akali is going to be dangerous for your backline. Well, Varus has Edge of Night, and now Karis is caught out.
Yeah, Equalizer doing so much work, forcing Karis to flash away instantaneously, and in goes Meiko, and Gala for the collapse. It's going to be Vampire instantly deleted, and Cube's teleport far too late. Another kill going the way of IG as Baron is now on the menu at 26 minutes.
Yeah, that should be the objective going to IG here. It's another big pick, and once again, it's Vampire kind of dying for the sins of the rest of his team. He's made some bad plays this game, but could not be over here. Cube stepping up.
Yeah, taking a lot of damage though, and in goes
Rookie
to the backline. Taeyoon in a ton of trouble. Rookie with one more set of spells should be able to seal the deal. Cube dies in the backline as well, but here comes Karis to the rescue. Taeyoon lives for long enough, but it will not be able to result in any kills going over. Gala flashing into the Shroud because he did not give a damn about Karis, the tier 2 turret, or Team WE.
And it just blows itself wide open here. The game has been absolutely decimated by Invictus Gaming. It looks like they're going to move their pressure into Baron here. Monki is still alive. Vampire has respawned back up, and Gala with that aggressive play really separates IG. We'll see what they can do around Baron now, though.
There's no chance. I mean, Monki's going to have to just flash into the pit, hope for a miracle. Vampire likely will fall. He has to crash down away. Rookie doing a really good job to zone him out. Monki sees the HP bar. Can he get in there? They're stalling out. They're not damaging the Baron. They want to make sure this Trundle is far enough away before the smite eventually goes to away. And now Monki is going to have to flash away from that Equalizer instead of into the Baron pit.
Yeah, and while that was all happening, Rookie just killed Vampire for fun, just because he can at this point into the game. Just ridiculous stuff. IG's able to get the Baron. They're able to pick up a bunch of kills in that fight. We're going to get a replay here. WE want a contestant. They're sending Q because he's the only one with the ability to try and face check this, but there's so much CC that even though Q can, go unstoppable and try to keep himself alive, there's just not enough. Taeyoon gets bursted down at the start of this fight. Rookie not quite able to finish him off. Could have been a little bit better here, but eventually Meiko ends up being able to take him down, and Way with the flash in. Gala, securing the fight. Monki now looking at Rookie, but Monki might be in trouble.
Yeah, Subjugate just wasn't even enough. Rookie is healing up a storm with those double buffs. 10 stocks on the Darksteel, has now the Baron buff as well. IG looking to put the finishing touches here on it this game. And even more dominance showing than the first, as Team WE now have their backs against the wall.
We will see where IG want to put their pressure. Right now, they're shoving out the bot lane. Looks like it's going to be on this bot inhibitor turret. This should be free. No way for WE to contest. They're going to try anyways.
Horn is sounded. They find 3 members with the knockup, but there's not enough damage at this point in the game. Meiko lands the pulve on the Monki, and he's down to about 70% HP. The tier 3 down to half. TheShy has his equalizer coming up in 6 seconds with the wave crashing in. That is certainly when they make their next move.
Yeah, and they're still shoving in. It's going to be inhibitor falling in the mid lane. TheShy was shoving in the wave the entire time, and so that will be the objective. The wave is now crashing on the bot side as well.
With a couple of those cooldowns issued, no Call of the Forge God. It makes it so much harder to start a fight if you are Team WE. Meiko lands another knockup on the Monkeys, chunked down to half. Vampire with the Magnus Storm is going to find 2. A big knockup will find a couple more, but there's just not enough damage on Team WE's side. 2 more have already fallen. It's going to be Cube knocked up, and Rookie frontlining onto Taeyoon. The wind becomes lightning, does not connect, but Taeyoon cannot even go to his own fountain for safety because IG have run the entirety of Summoner's Rift, and with a 2-0 win over Team WE, pick up their first win of LPL Split 3.
It's a dominant performance for Invictus Gaming as we see them not only seal the Nexus, but seal the fates of WE in their own base. And what a performance. You wanted to see a reinvigorated Invictus Gaming. Well, here you go. A dominant Game 2 from everyone involved.
And really just well played all throughout. I feel like some of those other games that NIP ended up winning earlier on in the day, if we go just reflect on another great day of LPL action overall, NIP kind of won by LGD throwing a couple of times. WE definitely didn't have like some of their best moments here in this series, but IG really had to earn that win, and they did so just tenfold. I mean, huge shout out to Rookie in that game. I mean, he was, I think, MVP of the series, absolutely. You could probably argue MVP of both games at this point on the Aurora, just absolutely styling on everybody. And for Team WE, definitely a disappointing loss. You always want that revenge once you kick off the regular season again to the team that took you down in the playoffs. They're going to be starting off this regular season at 0-1.
It's brutal for WE. Certainly not the start they wanted, but not the most unexpected start. I think that there are a lot of things to grow off of in this series. I think there are a lot of things to rebound from, a lot of tape to watch, but it's double round robin. You got a lot of games to play, so I wouldn't worry too much if you're a WE fan. I would just be so excited if you're an Invictus Gaming fan. Rookie, in particular, looked incredible in their series earlier on already this week, even though they weren't able to pick up the win against Top Esports. Was unreal in this one. Easily player of the game in both Game 1 and Game 2. Karis had gold in Game 1, and as we can see on the vote there, it didn't really matter. Rookie definitely outperforming his fellow mid laner.
It seems like the fans at home know who the MVP was. It seems like they're in agreement with us. So it looks like, no need to argue here this time around. Rookie, really a vintage performance here in the mid lane, as wasn't always the case in last season or just throughout this year, right? But overall, Rookie trying to find that form, that return to an international competition. It's been years since he's been back to that world stage, and hey, with this dream team built around him on the organization that lifted that World's Trophy with him, with his old teammate TheShy, of course, he's looking like he is motivated to do that again.
Yeah, and there were times in Split 2 where I was guilty of saying this, myself, where I was like, You know, this feels more like Top Esports rookie than it does like even Ninjas in Pajamas or Victory 5 rookie or especially old Invictus rookie. I don't think that was the case today at all. I mean, we just saw one of the most dominant rookie performances we've seen in quite a long time, and if he can capture that for the entirety of a split, you're looking at somebody who's an MVP frontrunner here in the LPL. You want to talk about Invictus going to Worlds. This is a team that can win the LPL if they do end up really forming around him in a way that, you know, allows him to play the way that he did today.
And here's the thing about the way that the LPL is currently structured in terms of the strengths of the teams and the like is, you know, you have AL who have been probably the most consistent all throughout, and the rest of the teams here in Group Ascend, you know, you have FPX and WE who are your surprises from last split, and they definitely have good upside. But in my head, at least, the other 5 teams have such high highs and such low lows that it's very hard to predict who these 4 World Seeds are going to be this early in the season.
It's basically impossible. I mean, we thought we had a good idea of what top 5 looked like going into playoffs last year, and then all of a sudden JDG doesn't win a playoff series, and Top Esports is out in round 2. Like, you just never know in the LPL. That's what makes this such a fun region. The most fun region in the world is you can never predict just exactly where things are going to head. And, you know, we saw that a bit today. 43,000 damage coming out from Rookie's Aurora. Absolutely disgusting. Just unfair. A cheat code, if you will. And let's not forget, this was a champion that he was not doing this on in Split 2. He was kind of, you know, when they went on their win streak, he was starting to play Orianna and Azir every game. If he's going to play like this on Aurora and still have those Orianna Azir games, we might be in trouble.
Hey, goes to show. Even Rookie, learning and growing at this point in his career, definitely a scary sight as you get a look at some of these replays of this decisive game number 2. Rookie nearly tripling Karis' damage in that one.
You know, we mentioned, Karis needs to really step up. The Akali's in a decent spot to be, you know, strong in this game. Didn't happen. And I get that the comp is part of that. It's hard for the Akali to dive in, especially when Karis just gets so far behind in terms of gold in the early game. But, man, this Akali just did not feel useful. Karis didn't really feel all that useful today. And, you know, this is kind of how it went in the playoff series as well. Rookie definitely feels like he has his number in terms of how things go. Karis has had good performances in the past. I'm hopeful that he's going to continue to grow as a player. I know that there's been some hope for him in the past, but definitely need to see more out of him than what we saw here today.
Yeah, and again, for Team WE, obviously a very tough opponent that they were matched up against. Is a team that 3-0'd them in the playoffs, albeit that series being close. I would say moments of this series being close as well. But that's going to be your life in Group Ascend, and that was their life in Group Ascend last split too. They're able to take upsets, and I'm not expecting them to just roll over and kind of fall apart because of just a sample size of one series, right? This is certainly going to be a team that causes havoc, that causes upsets, and creates surprises here in this group. But it just wasn't their day today, and you know what? There's always the rest of the season to look forward to. That's the good part about having this be just your first matchup, you know?
Yeah, I think, you know, there are some good traits to take away from WE. They got that gold lead in game number 1. They were up 3K gold. If they play a little bit more clinical in that game, they probably end up closing that one out. And even in game number 2, I think it's fair to say, you know, I'm not going to go as far as to say that Monki was better than Wei or was the better jungler, but Monki showed a lot of really good traits, I think, throughout this series. And he's the one player to watch for WE. He's the one who's really been able to elevate them a lot throughout this year. His inclusion in the team has certainly made them better. And so, you know, I think that there is something to take away from the fact that, you know, maybe a slightly better performance from the solo laners in this series, and you could be in a better spot. Even if this game 2 happens, if you're able to hold on to that 3K lead, you're just going into a game number 3. So, you know, it's the minor things that end up really kind of turning things around, and WE has more than enough time to be able to figure out how to solve those minor problems.
Yeah, you know, it's just they grew a lot in Split 2. Who's to say they can't do the same here in Split 3? As these highlights round up, let's take a look at the updated standings after our 4th full day of games here on the LPL. Still some teams yet to play. We have not seen JDG yet. That's the only team outside of the other 2 that were, you know, at that took some time away from MSI, right? So we'll be seeing them sooner rather than later. In fact, their first game is on Thursday. But before we get there, we have 2 more series in Nirvana to get to tomorrow. It's going to be FPX facing off against Top Esports, and then Weibo against Team WE, right back at it again. As we take a look at our player of the game to round out the show, no surprise, Rookie 11-1-10 on the Aurora.
Yeah, 308 damage per gold percentage. So, you know, pretty good, all things considered. He was at 4,700 gold at the end of the game. I mean, the numbers tell you the story, right? This guy dominated this series, and he made some highlight plays. He gets this solo kill onto Karis, hits literally every ability on the Aurora, dodges every ability on the Akali as he picks this up on the bot side. I mean, it's just a vintage rookie game, and again, if he's going to be playing like this throughout a lot of the rest of the year, we're not just looking at an Invictus Gaming team that can make Worlds, we're looking at a team that can, you know, make some serious noise at Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, if all goes right, but then again, that's what we say about a lot of the teams that are at the top here at the LPL, and things don't always go right? There's always some inconsistencies, there's some highs and lows, but right now IG definitely looking on form in this series specifically, bouncing back nicely after a loss to Top Esports to kick off the year. But that's going to do it here for our coverage on LPL English for the day, Kman. Good to have you back. Good to be back here with you for your first show of the split. And hey, we got some good games. One in Nirvana, one in Ascend, and there's going to be some more good ones tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much, Grapes. It's always a pleasure working with you. It was a very fun day. Crazy fun games, and very excited for the rest of the split.
And once again, FPX versus Top, then Weibo versus Team WE to wrap up the day tomorrow. Same time, same place. 5 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 a.m. Pacific Time to begin the day. And you're not going to want to miss it. You're not going to want to miss any of these days. We'll be on every single day, basically at that time frame, maybe a little bit earlier for some of our weekends. So make sure you're always locked in. Give us a follow on all of our social medias and all of that good jazz. But before we head out here for the day, we want to give a quick shout out to our Elite Coffee subscribers, Aaron, Soup, Mung, and Forrest Without. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew that helps to give you an English LPL product every day. The final score here on our second series of the day in Group Ascend, Invictus Gaming taking that 2-0 win over Team WE. On behalf of Kelsey, our producer, Kman, my color commentator, my name is Grapes, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all tomorrow for more LPL.